I used to run my fingers through my hair in the shower and just stop, because there was nothing there to grip anymore. That thin, see-through feeling at the crown? I know it intimately. If you've got fine, thinning hair and you're over 60, today I'm giving you 3 short hairstyles that don't just hide the thinning. They actually trick the eye into seeing more density, more shine, more life. These are the cuts stylists reach for first when a client whispers, "I don't want anyone to notice how thin it's gotten." I researched the best haircuts and styling fixes for women over 50, so you get real answers, not guesswork. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. I cover this every single week. The textured pixie that fools the eye. Here's something almost nobody tells you about fine, thinning hair. Length is the enemy, but so is going too short and too blunt. A flat pixie with a straight across edge actually shows more scalp than a slightly longer style, because there's no layering to catch the light and cast shadow. What you actually want is a textured pixie. Short, yes, but cut with irregular, choppy layers through the crown and a slightly longer fringe that sweeps to one side. That irregularity is what fools the eye into reading volume, instead of thin. Most women over 60 with thinning hair have tried a pixie before and sworn it off, because a bad one is brutal. It can age you, it can look severe, it can make the thinning worse instead of better. But that's almost always a cutting problem, not a length problem. A stylist who understands fine hair will point cut the ends instead of using blunt shears straight across. Point cutting creates soft, broken edges instead of one heavy line. And that softness is what reads as texture and body instead of sparse strands lying flat against the scalp. The crown is where thinning shows up first and worst, so that's where the layering needs to be most aggressive. Ask for shorter, choppier pieces right at the crown itself, not just around the perimeter. When those short pieces are cut to stand up slightly on their own, without needing a ton of product, they create actual lift right where you need it most. Then let the length grow slightly longer as it moves toward the nape and the sides, so there's a soft frame around your face instead of a helmet shape. The fringe matters more than people realize. A blunt, straight fringe on fine hair looks thin and stringy within a day, because there's nothing to break it up. A side-swept, textured fringe that's cut at a slight angle does 2 things at once. It covers any visible thinning right at the hairline, and it moves. Movement is what reads as healthy, alive hair. Static hair, even styled hair, reads as tired. Here's the result you're actually after. When this cut is done right, people stop noticing your hair is thin, and start noticing that your whole face looks lifted. The eye follows the choppy pieces upward, toward your cheekbones and your eyes, instead of drifting down toward flat, sparse ends. Clients tell me constantly that after this cut, people ask if they've lost weight, or if they're doing something different, and they're not, it's just that the hair stopped dragging their whole face down. Styling this at home is simpler than people expect. You don't need a dozen products. A lightweight volumizing mousse at the root, applied while hair is damp, is really the only heavy lifter. Then blow dry with your head tilted slightly forward, focusing the airflow at the roots first. This is the single biggest technique mistake I see. Women dry from the ends first out of habit, and that flattens the roots before they've had a chance to lift. Roots first, ends last every time. Once it's dry, a small amount of texturizing paste, just a dime-sized amount, rub between your palms first. Work through the ends and the fringe brings back the choppy, piece-wide definition without weighing anything down. That's it. 5 minutes, maybe less once you've done it a few times. Picture the before and the after side by side. Before, flat, blunt-edged hair lying close to the scalp. Every thin patch visible under overhead light. A shape that adds years instead of taking them off. After, a choppy textured pixie with visible lift at the crown and a soft, angled fringe that moves when she does. A shape that lifts the whole face instead of dragging it down. That's not a small difference. That's the difference between a haircut that photographs badly under bad lighting, and one that photographs well under any lighting, because the texture itself is doing the work, not the lighting conditions. But the pixie isn't for everyone, and if you've been growing your hair out for years and you're not ready to let go of length, there's a second option that gives you almost the same volume trick without the drastic cut, and it might be an even bigger surprise than this one. Number 2, the angled bob that adds density without adding length. If a pixie feels like too much too fast, this next one might be the answer. And it's the cut I recommend most often for women who want short hair without looking like they've made a dramatic decision. It's a jaw-length angled bob, slightly longer in the front than the back, and it works on thinning hair for a reason most people never think about. The angle itself creates the illusion of thickness. Here's the part that surprises people. Blunt cut bobs, cut perfectly straight all the way around, actually make fine hair look thinner, because every strand ends at exactly the same length and exactly the same point, which means there's nothing to break up the eye's read of how much hair is actually there. An angled bob does the opposite. When the back is shorter than the front, the ends stack on top of each other at the back of the head, and that stacking creates the appearance of layered thickness, even when the hair itself is just as fine as it was before the cut. The recognition moment here is one I hear constantly. Women say they've had a bob for years, and it's never looked as good as the ones they see online. Almost every time, the issue isn't the bob itself, it's that the stylist cut it blunt instead of angled, or cut it too long. Fine hair has a weight limit. Past a certain length, gravity pulls it flat no matter what you do to it, and all the volume you had at the roots gets dragged straight down by the time it reaches your shoulders. Jaw length keeps the hair above that tipping point. The fix is specific. Ask for a graduated angle, meaning the back is cut shorter and the layers are stacked, not just blended. Stacking is the technical word, and it's worth using with your stylist by name, because layered alone can mean a dozen different things depending on who's cutting. Stacked layers at the back nape area create a rounded, fuller shape right where thinning hair tends to lie the flattest. The result, when this is done right, is almost immediate. The moment the stacked layers hit the light, the hair catches shadow and highlight in a way flat hair simply can't. That contrast between light and shadow is what your eye interprets as thickness, even though the actual number of strands on your head hasn't changed one bit. It's an optical trick, but it's one hairdressers have relied on for decades because it genuinely works, every time, on every fine-haired client who's ever sat in that chair. Styling an angled bob for volume comes down to one habit most women skip. Rough drying upside down for the first few minutes. Flip your head forward, blast the roots with warm air for 2 or 3 minutes, then flip back up and finish directing the ends where you want them. That upside down window is where the real lift happens. It's not about the product you use afterward, it's about training the roots to dry in the direction you want before gravity gets a chance to pull them flat again. Once it's dry and you're back upright, a light hold spray at the roots only, not through the mid-lengths, which just weighs fine hair down, locks in whatever lift the upside down drying created. Skip anything heavy, anything labeled smoothing or anti-frizz, because those formulas are built for coarse hair and they'll flatten fine strands within an hour. Before, hair grown past the shoulders, blunt ends, every bit of root lift pulled flat by its own weight by midday. After, a jaw-length angled bob, shorter and stacked at the back, catching light and shadow in a way that reads as full, healthy density. It's not a longer process than what you're doing now, it's a smarter one. Now there's a third option, and it's the one I'd actually call the secret weapon of this whole list, because it's the only one of the three that was specifically designed for hair that's not just fine, but visibly thinning at the part line itself. Third one is the shag that hides a thinning part line. The part line is where thinning shows up most honestly, because there's no hair on either side to disguise it. It's just scalp in a straight line, under whatever light happens to be hitting you. A short shag, cut with heavy layering all around and a soft undefined fringe, is built to solve exactly that problem, and it's the one style on this list most stylists don't suggest unless you ask for it by name. Here's the surprising part. A shag actually works better on fine, thinning hair than on thick hair, which is the opposite of what most women assume. Thick hair can look chaotic in a shag, too much volume fighting itself. Fine hair has the opposite problem, not enough volume, so all that heavy layering has room to do its job without ever looking overdone. The layers aren't fighting density, they're creating it. The specific fix here is what stylists call a disconnected shag, where the layers around the crown and part line are cut noticeably shorter and choppier than the layers framing the face. That disconnection is deliberate. It breaks up the straight line of the part itself, so instead of one continuous strip of visible scalp, you get short, textured pieces falling loosely across it from both sides. The eye can't find a clean line to focus on, so it stops registering the thinning altogether. Ask specifically for a side part instead of a center part when you get this cut. even if you've worn a center part your whole life. A center part exposes the widest, most symmetrical strip of scalp possible, right down the middle where thinning is often most advanced. A deep side part naturally lets more hair fall over the thinner area, and combined with the shag's short, choppy top layers, it does more concealing work than any product ever could. The snapback result with this one is specific, and it's worth naming directly. Women who switch to a disconnected shag with a deep side part often say it's the first haircut in years where they stopped angling their head away from overhead lighting in photos. That's not a small thing. If you've caught yourself tilting your chin down at parties or standing under dim lighting on purpose, this cut is built to undo exactly that habit, because there's no longer a bright line of scalp for harsh light to catch. Styling a shag leans on one product more than any other: a texturizing spray, applied to dry hair, not damp. Spray it at the roots and through the choppy top layers, then scrunch gently with your fingers, working upward toward the scalp rather than pulling down through the ends. This is the opposite motion of what most of us were taught decades ago, but downward strokes flatten exactly the volume you're trying to build. A finishing touch that surprises most women. A tiny dab of clear brow gel, run along the part line itself with a light hand, keeps any fine flyaways along that line from standing straight up and catching light in a way that draws attention. It's a 5-second step, but it's the difference between a part line that disappears into the style and one that still peeks through by early afternoon. Before, a center part with a visible, unbroken strip of scalp, hair styled the same way it's been styled for 20 years out of habit rather than what actually suits it now. After, a disconnected shag with a deep side part, short choppy layers breaking up the part line completely, styled with upward motion instead of downward. 3 completely different haircuts, 3 completely different problems solved, and every one of them built around the same idea. Work with the hair you actually have, not the hair you used to have. So which of these 3 is actually right for you? That depends less on your hair type than most women think, and more on one specific habit you probably have without even realizing it. Which one is actually right for you? Here's the honest truth about choosing between these 3. The cut itself matters less than how honest you are about your own styling habits, and that's the part nobody wants to hear when they're sitting in the salon chair excited about a new look. All 3 of these cuts work beautifully on fine, thinning hair. All 3 can also fail completely if they're matched to the wrong lifestyle. If you're someone who's genuinely willing to spend 5 minutes with a blow dryer most mornings, root first, the textured Pixie from earlier is going to reward you the most. It needs that regular root lift styling to look its best, and if you skip it for a few days, it'll still look fine, but it won't look extraordinary. This is the cut for someone who actually enjoys that little morning ritual, not someone who resents it. If mornings are rushed and you want something that looks intentional with minimal effort, the angled bob is the better match. That upside-down rough dry takes 3 minutes, not 5, and the stacked layers hold their shape through most of the day without much maintenance after that initial drying. It's the most forgiving of the 3 if you're not someone who wants to think about your hair every single morning. And if your biggest concern isn't volume generally but that specific, visible part line, the disconnected shag solves a problem the other 2 don't directly address. It's also, honestly, the lowest maintenance of the 3 once you've got the deep side part established, because texturizing spray on dry hair takes under a minute, and there's no blow-drying technique to master at all. There's one more thing worth saying, and it's the thing I wish someone had told me years ago before I sat in a salon chair asking for a cut that photos online, without once mentioning that my hair was fine and thinning at the crown. Stylists cannot read your scalp density through a photograph on your phone. If you don't say the words, "My hair is thinning," or "My hair is fine and fragile" out loud, before the scissors ever come out, you will very likely end up with a cut designed for someone with an entirely different hair type. Say it plainly. It's not embarrassing, and it's the single sentence that determines whether you walk out thrilled or walk out disappointed. The other detail that changes everything: bring a photo of the back of your head, not just the front. Almost every woman brings inspiration photos of the front view only, but the crown and the nape are exactly where thinning is most visible, and exactly where these 3 cuts do their most important structural work. A stylist who can see what your crown actually looks like, not just imagine it, will cut layers that are placed correctly the first time, instead of needing 3 separate appointments to get it right. Whichever one you choose, the honest goal is the same across all three. Hair that works with what you actually have right now, not hair that's trying to fake what you had 20 years ago. That's the difference between a haircut you tolerate and one you actually love looking at in the mirror every single morning. You now know exactly which of these three cuts fits your actual morning, not just your hair type. The textured pixie for lift lovers, the angled bob for busy mornings, the disconnected shag for that visible part line. That's real, specific knowledge most women never get before they sit down in the chair. And it's going to change how you talk to your stylist from here on out. Which one are you drawn to? Or has someone already talked you out of one of these because they said it wouldn't work on fine hair? Tell me in the comments. I read every one. Next week I'm covering the exact color techniques that make thinning hair look denser too, so keep an eye out for that one. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.